Hey, thank you for joining the Read and Reaction podcast. My name is Nick Knudsen, and I'm excited to welcome Bud Davis to the show tonight. Bud, you might follow him on Twitter if you're a Florida Gators football fan. He's been putting out great content all season. We had the pleasure of having him write an article for the Read and Reaction website today about mainly focused on the running game between Florida and Georgia. He's going to come out with another one tomorrow, right, Bud?
Yeah, focus on the passing side.
For the passing side, right? So, great content there. If you haven't checked it out, be sure to go over to Read and Reaction and check out Bud Davis's stuff. But Bud, before we jump into all that, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good. It's a weird, it's a world's largest outdoor cocktail party weekend, and it doesn't quite feel like that. It's a weird season, but I'm still excited.
Well, it's a great opportunity to at least maybe try to ruin Georgia's season at the very least. We got that going for us. But hey, I've gone over a lot of your stuff on Twitter. Very analytical, obviously fits the mold. We were saying similar to what Will does in some ways, where Will follows all the numbers and everything, the analytics. I think you do a great job with that stuff, and you use these charts to really tell a story. I love the way you present the charts and everything. But what's your background before you get into what made you get interested in the analytics side of football?
So yeah, I've got a science background. I'm a geologist, geophysicist, and just spent a lot of time doing models and data analytics for my job. And I like thinking through problems, and then a lot of times I'm thinking about Gator football, and we've got plenty of problems, and it makes me feel like I'm in control if I can plot up the data and try and figure out what's going on, and just makes me feel like I understand it, and I have a lot of fun doing it. And yeah.
That's great, man. So you were saying, we were talking a little bit beforehand that you were Gator grad 08 through 12, you said. So you caught the tail end of the Urban Meyer era, some of the good years. Will got the Ron Zook years. He got the Ron Zook years. Yeah. I was the lucky one. I got 05 to 08. So that was a pretty good run for the football stretch. Yeah, that was a good run for the football side, but basketball too. Not too bad. But
yeah.
08 strong year at 08, obviously. Good regular season 09, but then you were there for as you called it, the fall off.
Yeah. I got to see that fall off the cliff where you started to notice things weren't quite right, and there was still a lot of optimism that we could turn it around, and it's been a long time since then.
That's great, man. That's great. Well, let's dive into some of the charts you did this weekend for this article on Read and Reaction today for the running game, at least. The passing one's coming out tomorrow, so we won't go over as many of those passing charts, but we'll start out with the running one. I want you to walk people through exactly how you break this down. I want them to see it through your eyes. So, Bud, some of the ways you approach these breakdowns, you go through and you look at the types of plays that we run in the running game. I'll let you take it over here, but walk people through exactly what numbers you're using, how you're breaking this down, and how you come up with something like this.
Yeah, so this is a chart that on the x-axis, so this is the bottom from left to right. This is EPA per attempt. So this is expected points added. And this is a pretty simple concept that everybody who watches football knows intuitively. Expected points are just on a drive. It's a number that tells you how likely are you to score, how many points are you probably going to score on that drive, right? So if you're way back in your own end zone, you don't really think you're probably going to score a touchdown there, like most teams. But, you start getting into the red zone, you start feeling more confident, hey, we're probably going to come away with points here. That's just your expected points. And so EPA just says, for every play, how much more likely were you to score points? So every play, did you become more likely to score points on that drive or less likely? And it's just based on historical data, similar situations for down, distance, time left in game. So it just provides that context, because not all yards are created equal. And sometimes the defense is giving you 5 yards on 3rd and 10. And those yards are basically meaningless. They don't change your expected points, right? You probably lose expected points if you only gain 5 yards on 3rd and 10. So EPA just helps us put context and gives us one number to look at all plays. So that's down here at the bottom. On the right is plays where the offense did good. And on the left are plays where the defense did good. And so then we've got all these different rushing concepts that we're going to look at. And so they're going to be ordered by how much the offense likes to run them. So common concepts, we're going to be looking at the Dan Mullen offense versus the Kirby Smart defense. Dan Mullen's favorite concept this year is the outside zone run. So this is just B or C gap, zone runs, zone blocking runs. He likes the QB rush. He likes the inside zone, stretches, powers, pitches, and options. More common concepts at the top, less common concepts at the bottom. And so then for each one of these concepts, I've got two what's called box and whisker plots. So it's just, these boxes tell you what are the outcomes. If we run this play, what's probably going to happen. And so for outside zone, you can see our median value, which is inside the box, inside the blue box for outside zone. There's a little vertical line. That's the median value. So that's, roughly half the time where we're going to end up. And we're going to lose a little bit of EPA. And that's not that uncommon for rushes. They're just not that great at generating expected points. But we do have a big range. So the actual blue box itself tells you what's called the quartile range. So this actually does a good job of saying, most runs don't produce one value. They produce a value between this and this. And the blue box just does a really good job of showing you what it's probably going to be between. So pretty big range on outside zone. Sometimes it's added a lot of expected points for us. Sometimes it's, hurt us and we haven't added a lot of expected points. And when we look at, where Dan Mullen has been pretty good, he's got the run game overall producing a lot of expected points. We're actually number one in the country at producing expected points in our run game. It's been a lot better in 2021 than 2020. And then the red boxes tell you how Kirby Smart's done defending against these concepts. So you see a lot of these red boxes are on the left side. Georgia is exceptionally good at defending most of the common runs that Dan Mullen likes to do. They're really good at, just taking on the spread option game, especially against these zone runs. And, but they're pretty good actually against the more traditional pin and pull runs like power and counter. They're pretty good against those as well. So just kind of working through these, notice, the Georgia defense is exceptionally good against inside zone and outside zone. I think that tells me it's going to be tough for us to just run at this Georgia defense using our traditional running back and traditional zone blocking schemes. I don't think Damian Pierce, Malik Davis, or Naquan Wright are necessarily going to have a big game where they're consistently gaining 4 or 5 yards. I just don't see that happening. And we also know that Georgia's played a lot of the really good running teams, right? Georgia's played Arkansas. Georgia's played Kentucky. Georgia's played Auburn. All three of those teams have pretty good running games. And Georgia shut all of those running games down. I don't really see Florida being exceptionally different from those. Where we might be able to throw a little wrinkles into the mix is I like this QB rushing matchup. There's pretty positive, these boxes, you can see they go pretty far to the right. It's where I've got it labeled maybe UF's best opportunity. And these are runs where I think, we've got some opportunities for maybe QB scrambles, maybe some QB power runs where we might not be able to hit them consistently, but every now and then we're probably going to be able to get an explosive run out of those. I like those. I think we're going to be in situations on a first and 15, second and 10. UGA is going to drop a lot of guys back into pass protect or to coverage, and our offensive line is going to do a pretty good job at pass protect. And I want to see Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson just take off there. Pick up 8 yards. I think that's got to supplement our run game here.
So not necessarily a designed run, but just quarterbacks pick up the yards where they're available.
Yeah, and when you look at where KJ Jefferson and Bo Nix, they got pretty well stuffed by UGA's run game or run defense.
Two good running quarterbacks for Arkansas and Auburn.
Yeah, and they're good running. But really, Bo Nix had 2 runs the whole game. He had one little keeper read that he was able to get a 4th down conversion on, and he had 1 scramble. And then he actually ended the day with -16 rushing yards. I don't think traditional QB runs necessarily are going to be it. I do think, in Mullen, I trust on this. He's one of the best at doing this. He might be able to scheme some really cool stuff up. And I do like that when I look at this, it's where UGA has been relatively more. There's been a wider variety of outcomes for them defending these QB runs, and we're going to need numbers. I don't think necessarily we can go man on man and beat UGA's, front seven. And so you got to create numbers, and I like the QB run game for that. So it'll be interesting. It's really pick your poison with UGA. There's no answer that jumps off here that looks great. But that's one thing that kind of jumps out to me. They've been really good on the outside. Down at the bottom, I've got it labeled exceptional versus perimeter runs. They have so much speed and athleticism. Like, they swarm to those outside, back plays where you're going off the tackle or off the tight end with a stretch or a pitch play. They swarm to those and shut them down.
So would that tell me then that on your last one here, you have it circled with the option where UF has run it looks like exceptionally well, where there's almost no, is there not, it's all positive EPA for the UF side in the blue bar, and on the red bar, Georgia's not allowed any positive EPA with that play. That's quite a matchup.
Yeah, it is. And I think UF is going to try it. There's one play that KJ Jefferson ran that went for 20 plus yards against them and got called back for a hold. But, you just look at where you can potentially run against them, and running into the middle at Jordan Davis might not be the answer. And so they did some kind of counter option where they left him unblocked and pulled, I think, the center out, or had him just get depth and let KJ Jefferson just outrun Jordan Davis. Leave him unblocked. Don't worry about him. Block other people. Don't waste a block there, and just get outside, run behind your big receivers. And I think it wouldn't surprise me to see Mullen test it. We've had good success with it this year. I'm not saying it's going to work. Like I said, it's pick your poison, and I think we're just going to have to be creative. So, yeah, it's a tough matchup. It's a tall order. If Florida comes in and is able to run on UGA, then we can run on anybody in the country.
Yeah, you're saying they're tough up the middle and they swarm to the outside. That about covers it, bud.
Yeah. Yeah. You look at this chart, and really virtually all the red bars are on the left side, right? All the red boxes are over there. So then it's like, well, what do you do? And it's just look at what you do well, and you do different wrinkles to it. You mix in, running and passing concepts. Like, there's one play that we've been running this year that I really love, that Anthony Richardson has done good, where they fake the QB run and then hit the, running back or tight end on a wheel route. Or we've run it where you fake a pitch on that. So you have to run the pitch and you have to run the QB run to kind of set that up or keep them honest. So I do love those interconnected wrinkles that I think will stress Georgia a little bit more than some of the play calling that they've seen. But Arkansas and Art Briles, Kendall Briles, they know offense, and they struggled with this unit. So, looking at this, it's just, I think Florida can actually keep this game competitive. I expect them to cover the 14.5 point spread. I think we've got that covered. It's really just, is Florida going to come away with 17 points? Are they going to come away with 20? UGA hasn't given up more than 13 on the year. Where it was 17 would be the best anybody's done against them. And it's a tall order.
So EPA, the one thing that you can't argue about EPA is it's all results based. Correct. So it's not, but is there anything to the fact that, how would you categorize the offenses that Georgia has faced so far this season? I just don't think they've seen an offense that's going to perform at the level that Dan Mullen, Anthony Richardson and company are coming at them with on Saturday.
I think so. They haven't faced a good passing team yet. And we're going to be one of the more balanced teams. Arkansas and Auburn, they could run the ball, but they were not going to be world beaters through the air. I think we bring a little bit better of a passing attack to keep them honest. And I think we've been pretty good at scheming. I think Dan Mullen has seen Kirby Smart's defense enough to know hey, this is kind of how his pattern match concepts work. Yeah, he's got good athletes, but I also know, if I put a bunch formation over here, I know what his rules are. He's only got a couple sets of rules to fight this, and I know how to break these. Or if I put 4 receivers over there, or I put a bunch of guys, and that's what he did last year, and just dismantled their defense, and that was great. So I think Dan Mullen has a good shot at keeping us in this game. But it's also, there's going to be a lot of punts. There's going to be a lot of stalled drives, regardless of who we play at quarterback. And I think it's going to come down to, can we generate just a couple explosive runs? We need a little bit of luck on our side in that regard. Just UGA missing a tackle that they usually don't make or don't miss, and that's going to change the ball game.
So stay
or at least
patient.
make it more.
Stay
make it more
patient.
competitive.
Oh, sorry, bud. Stay patient with the run game, though. You're saying. So we got, no matter what is going on the field, you want us to stick with this run game despite the Georgia defense looking like world beaters against it.
I don't think you can beat them on the ground, but you also, I don't think, can go in and I don't think Anthony Richardson or Emory Jones or our wide receivers are good enough to just win it on their own, right? I don't think, Copeland, I love, I think you can put that guy. I hope he has a huge day on Saturday. But, otherwise, it's a pretty tall order to ask guys like Trent Whitmore, Kamori Gamble to go out there and just one-on-one win you this game. And I don't think they've shown that they can do that. I like the perimeter runs here because I think it plays to our strength. We have huge wide receivers. They're not necessarily the fastest, but I'd much rather run. Maybe you have Justin Shorter out, single lone wide receiver to the boundary, and you run towards him, let him block, and get Anthony Richardson at a full head of steam. I like my odds there a lot better than asking, our interior O line to try and block Jordan Davis, and make a gap. So.
Big fella, man. 99. He's been wrecking defenses up the middle. Let's go on to your next chart here, bud. All right, bud. The next one we got up here, the Grantham defense versus Todd Monken's offense. We've seen this offense, despite JT Daniels being down for most of the season, they've performed fairly well with Stetson Bennett at the helm. Bud, what are you seeing on the numbers?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think where a lot of people saw the Georgia offense struggle last year, and they hear that Stetson Bennett's back, they're immediately assuming it's the same offense. They're operating at a different level. They're a very competent, offense this year. They haven't necessarily been tested by that many great defenses. And I actually think Florida's defense is pretty good this year. They do kind of struggle in the run game. And so one thing I talk about, in that piece is I want to see Florida. I think the trench battle is going to get a lot of focus. I don't think it's where Florida can win the game, but hopefully they can at least keep it competitive. And so one thing that jumps out to me is I'm not really expecting Georgia to have to get too fancy to be able to run on us. Florida's run game has really struggled. Just stopping base.
Are you saying that they could run the same play over and over?
Man,
against our defense?
That was really interesting. Is I saw a tweet after the LSU game that LSU has a data analytics person on staff, and that he came to LSU and said, "Hey, Todd Grantham has struggled with counter throughout the years. Here are the numbers. You should look into it." And that's just what LSU did. And so that's actually what motivated all of these charts. Is I was like, I wonder if that's true. Has Todd Grantham, struggled with counter? And so this is just this year. Counter is down here, at the bottom. And we basically have had 2 negative counter plays all year. We've just been getting run over. And it was the same story last year against Oklahoma and Texas A&M. And so it's just interesting. This is all 2021 data. I plotted it for going back, and it holds up as well. His scheme has just struggled with it. And I don't know if it's how he teaches his edges to really play the run there or be aggressive versus the pass. if he's just asking them to do those little buck linebackers to do too many different things. And so it's an interesting little quirk. And, it definitely comes out in the data. And I think UGA is absolutely, if I'm UGA, I'm running counter the first drive to see how we do against it. And I'm probably going to, do it every few drives just to keep them honest.
So instead of using a lot of the 4-letter words I was using to describe Todd Grantham's ability to cover the counter, I'm going to refer to it as an interesting little quirk now, bud. I think you helped us all this Saturday. Really appreciate it.
Man, I couldn't believe it yeah, that was absurd. Not making those adjustments. And I don't know if you saw, like, Seth Varnador has like a little film breakdown that he's done of that game. And he shows like Grantham waits till the fourth quarter to make the adjustments and bring guys over to that side to help. And as soon as Florida does that, LSU has the counter to that, and they just run it the other way. They run it to the field side where nobody is and score another touchdown. It's just like, man, you can't help but shoot yourself in the foot there.
I had to get that. I had to get that in to vent my Todd Grantham frustrations. But let's head back to the charts here, bud. You're saying Florida's defense this year definitely improved from last year overall.
Yeah, for sure. We're better than last year. I think we still struggle, at our defensive tackle. Like that's our weaker, position there. And we don't have a big inside linebacker, right? We're really missing Ventrell.
Yeah.
So teams can actually just run inside outside zone on us. They can push us around a little bit. They can push our linebackers around a little bit. And you can see, the median blue bar, right? The vertical line in the blue box is actually on the offensive side for our defense. I'm not expecting UGA's just going to take that, right? If they're going to be able to run 4 or 5 yards, they're going to do that all night and day. And it's their two most common concepts. Where Florida's a little bit better is on the perimeter, right? UGA likes to run a lot of these pitch plays to get their, really explosive running backs in space. It's a little bit more of a risk reward thing for them. And Florida's smaller linebackers, they're pretty fast. And, our DBs are actually, pretty aggressive. And so we've been able to play that pretty well. So, I think if UGA is trying to stretch us to the outside, I'm fine with that. I'm more worried about that inside run game. The other thing that kind of jumps out is Stetson Bennett has put up pretty good rushing numbers. And, they've got a really strong inside run game, and they've got a passing attack that throws it deep. And it kind of leaves this thing where nobody's really watching Stetson Bennett. And if I'm expecting at least once or twice, there's going to be like a 3rd and 6, 2nd and 8, and he's just going to scoot and nobody's going to be on him and he's going to pick up a first down. The guy has pretty good speed. I'd actually be much happier if Georgia runs JT Daniels out there, because it just takes one more weapon out of their arsenal. And then
I think with Bennett too, that is an underrated part of his game. And with him, what is he in his 6th year now? The man knows the offense too. I know it's only Monken's 2nd year here, but he's been around college ball for a long time. So he's going to be smart and know when to tuck it and run.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's got a really good offensive line he can hide behind. And he's got some really good running backs that, if he doesn't feel like he can sit back there and throw it, he can just hand it off to them. He can just make those adjustments. He's been in this system long enough, and they're good enough to get away with it. So Florida's been pretty good at containing quarterbacks this year. And I actually think we've done pretty well against the mobile ones, so I don't think he's going to necessarily kill us. It's the inside runs. I think that's just going to wear us down. But I also think if we're going to give anything up, I'm fine with that. Those inside runs are generally not as explosive. They slow the game down. They can lead to it being scoring. And sometimes, they can just get you off schedule. You can get a stop on first down, and then all of a sudden they're in a 2nd and long. We can start being a little bit more, aggressive with our blitz calls, whether you like that or not. But I'm actually, if we're giving them something, I want us playing further back on defense, covering the deep balls and keeping it in front of us, which has kind of been our defensive strategy this year, and it's worked pretty well. So we'll see. I like how we match up on the outside, not as much on the inside as far as, in the run game.
Is there something to this is not related to the EPA, but we've seen constantly in these big games, even last year against Georgia, we were down 14-0. Bama 21-3 this year. The SEC title game, Bama scores 5 touchdowns on their first 5 drives, right? Is there something to those matchups where you're seeing Grantham not make adjustments quick enough out of the gate, or why are we just getting shell shocked out of the gate in these big games?
I don't know. I don't think I am not a film guy. Like I don't have that background. And I don't think I haven't looked at the data to like be like, oh yeah, we actually are really bad, out of the gate or out of the halftime adjustments. It definitely feels like that. And I think third quarter LSU is just a nightmare. It's like, why aren't we adjusting? It just seems like we're kind of slow to make those systems adjustments. It could be a little bit, we're pretty young, with our safeties. But we're not as young on our D line and at our linebacker core. Those guys should know it. So I just don't, I don't think I have a really good answer.
Well, I bring that up. I bring that up to point out your data here is saying the inside run is where it's at for Georgia. That's the edge all day for Georgia, is that inside run. And if you fall down 2 scores in the first half and Georgia could just take that inside run and just run it home all day, Kirby Smart's he doesn't care about winning by 40 points. Kirby Smart's cool winning by 17 and taking the thing back to Athens. Yeah. So really critical. It sounds like these numbers are telling me it's really critical for the Gators to jump out fast to an early lead so that you don't allow Georgia to be able to maintain long possessions.
Florida's got to be explosive, right? We've got to find a way to get chunk plays. We've got to, if we're just going to go efficiency on efficiency, Georgia's going to grind us down. They're going to win. Their run defense is better than our run offense. Their run offense is better than our run defense. Like, it's in the trenches is not where we win this game. We win this game airing it out and keeping them from airing it out. If they want to grind it out, that's fine. I'll trade a 3-play touchdown drive for, their 12th play, touchdown drive. Mm-hmm. And we'll need a little bit of luck. We haven't gotten much in the way of turnover luck this year.
Oof.
It's been brutal. And maybe we're overdue. It doesn't work like that, but at some point we have to generate a turnover.
Do you have a chart for overdue? Do you have any numbers to back that up?
I have, let's see.
Overdue. The universe owes us one.
I have like how many turnovers an average offense makes. I think it's like 1.4 a game, and we're something way, way ridiculously below that.
Which is funny because Gator defenses in the past, outside of the past 2 years, turnovers usually a strong suit. But Will was even saying on one of the stand-up and hollers recently, he's like, when's the last time you saw a quarterback get hit and the ball just pop up? I know it happened. I think he said it right before the Vandy game, and then it actually happened in the Vandy game. But you just don't, you're not seeing those types of plays much. But let's move on to a couple more charts here. All right, but let's for in terms of Florida Georgia here, let's go over another concept here. We're giving people a little preview for Bud's article coming tomorrow. We'll just spoil this one chart here, Bud. We'll save the rest for that article tomorrow on readerreaction.com. But give us a breakdown here of how you this is a passing heat map for the Georgia Bulldogs defense. So something important here for Dan Mullen to take into consideration when he's making a game plan for that passing game on Saturday.
Yeah, so this is just, looking at how people have performed throwing against the Georgia defense at different zones of the field. So we've got the number of attempts that's gone to each zone, the completion percentage, and then the boxes are covered by the EPA per play, how good it's gone for the offense. So green boxes, those have been places where the offense has been relatively successful throwing it. Purple boxes, those have been tougher to throw into. So we see UGA's defense has been really good in this zone between the line of scrimmage and out to 10 yards, right? Mm-hmm. They're just all purple boxes in there. And that's just really, these guys are fast. This defense is designed to stop the spread passing game, right? That horizontal passing game, those quick throws, they want to take that away or just get quick tackles, let you throw it and then get hit immediately. right? They've got the speed, they've got the dudes to do that. I think what jumps out to me is they've actually been a little bit worse at that intermediate level, right? They haven't been bad, right? They've been good at that 10 to 20 yard level, and then that 20 yards on. They've been good at that level, but in terms of relative weaknesses and just thinking about what does Florida need to do to be able to score points, we've got to be able to throw into these really valuable zones, right? These big chunk plays. They've been a little bit weaker on the left side, right? You've got a couple green boxes over there, a little bit better on the right side. So they are using where quarterbacks want to throw against them. They're anticipating what routes are going to be there, right? Your digs, your curls, your outs, and they're just jumping those or preventing you from completing them. Super low completion percentage. Where I'd like to see Florida take deep shots is these perimeter ones, right? You see what looks like a lot more middle of the field closed coverage, right? Not a lot of success throwing against the deep safety help, but on the boundaries, Kirby likes to kind of play it like Saban does and say, hey, cornerback, you're on an island. If you get taken deep and they throw outside, you're on your own. Use the sideline as the other defender. And they've actually not been great at defending that. I'd love to see like Copeland get out there, shorter. We've got some big guys. Their cornerbacks aren't that great. The problem is you need time to get into those zones to throw them, right? You're looking at running 20 yards downfield. Now you're talking about you're 2-3 seconds into the snap. That's when pressures start coming. So it's going to be big on Florida's offensive line. It's going to be big on the quarterbacks reading and, assigning the protection. And that's where I actually think we're going to end up seeing more Emory Jones maybe than people want to see, is I just think he's a little bit further along at actually reading that, assigning the protections, buying that time where we can actually attack these zones. I think the problem is, this intermediate zone between 10 and 20 yards is where Florida's thrown a lot of their picks. That's where they've thrown almost all their picks. We haven't been great throwing at that level. So it'll be interesting. This is it's a defense designed to take away what Dan Mullen wants to do. And Mullen's going to have to figure out how to attack it, right? He can't just throw screen passes all day or screen, swing, flat. Like those are all going to be covered. And George is going to attack them. So what are you going to do? And what are our QBs going to do? It's going to be really interesting.
I agree. We will see more of Emory Jones than maybe you'd expect. However, how much more do you expect to see him? Like, what? Give me a percentage snap rate between Richardson and Jones. Total guess. What are you expecting?
I don't think I know. I don't think Dan Mullen actually knows. I think my guess is we're going to see Jones, Anthony Richardson, and whoever drives looks the best hot hand going forward.
So the same setup coming out of the gate, even though Jones was benched in the second half, you think he's going to get the start?
I think so, and I think it'll be the same setup as in the past, But I do think Jones will be on a tighter leash. I think whoever throws a pick is down, until the next guy throws a pick. You just can't throw turnovers, and you just can't have turnovers in this game.
Interesting. So what else? Tell me what other weaknesses you're seeing. So is this it seems like that left side, the middle and the left side over the 10-yard mark, is that a product of linebacker play, or is that because I know you talk about the deep part being the corners being on the man on man, but what about the middle parts of the chart?
I think it's actually just they're a little bit weak at cornerback. And, they're always going to have their number 2 guy over there on that, or usually on that left side, right? It's not where most QBs want to throw it. So you might end up having the CB number 2 over there. They've played pretty good, like even over there. They've gotten a fair, like you see that completion percentage at between 0 and 10 yards. That's 76. It's on the left side, kind of like short. It's a short pass between the numbers and the hash marks on the left.
Yeah.
They've gotten a couple picks there. I think otherwise that's a green zone, right? And those are these little slants, right? They're playing the 10-yard passes and the curl routes and giving up the quick little 3 or 4 slant hitters. I think Florida's got to hit that early. I like those opportunities a little bit. What you might see on that far left side is a deep cross which is where Florida's gotten into so much trouble trying to throw to Gamble on coming across on a late deep cross, and a safety just jumps it. We've been getting killed trying to throw that ball, but a lot of offenses have had a lot of success with it. So that might be what's going on here against Georgia. But yeah, not a lot of obvious zones to attack. Their linebackers are just, they can cover, they can tackle, they can run defense. I like attacking their corners a little bit more. Their safety play is really good. It's just it's a tall order. And it's, again, like, if we come out, if we get, 10 points in the first half, I'm going to be happy. You got to be happy with that. 2 scoring drives in the first half. I think then it's on your defense. Then it's a different game.
All right, bud. We got a few more charts here, and then we'll wrap up. All right, bud. Final couple charts here. This has been awesome so far, walking through all this with you. And for people, where can people follow you on Twitter real quick, just so they know where to follow all your stuff?
Yeah, it's just at JBudDavis.
Right. I saw this one on your Twitter profile, and I wanted to go over with it. Good breakdown of the game here. You want to walk it through for everyone?
Yeah, so this is just a lot of different stats. You don't have to know all of them. On the left are just what are called Bill Connolly's 5 factors. So these are just things that correlate with winning a game. Georgia's defense has been really good. This little dashed line is the P5 average, and they're just way down here. They're keeping you from staying on track so well. Only like a third of plays are on schedule against them. Florida's offense is pretty good. About half our plays keep us on schedule, which is actually really solid. We have a good, capable offense, and we can do it running, rushing, and passing. They're good against both. I think where you see things that might say, hey, UGA's defense might not be as sustainable as a lot of people think. This is points per opportunity. So like when you get past their 40, how many points are you likely to come away with? They've been just locking people down there, and that's something that usually is a little bit more random. So I'd expect that, maybe to be overweighting them a little bit. Florida's been turnover prone. We can't be turnover prone to win this game. You look at what Georgia does well. They're really good at stuffing runs. They're really pretty average actually at generating havoc. So getting pass breakups, interceptions, forcing fumbles, sacks. Those in aggregate are actually pretty average, which is interesting. One thing that I think when you look at what guys are seeing usage out of the Florida offense and which guys are producing, I really think we're going to see both Jones and Richardson, and Mullen's just going to go with the hot hand. I think we need a big game from Copeland. He's by far our best wide receiver, and I don't think we win the game with the running backs. We might be able to win with the running backs out of the backfield throwing to them, but it's still going to be a tall order. Guys like Xavier Henderson, Whitmore Wells, we can't have any drops, right? We're going to have to play turnover free ball. And if we get in, to the UGA 40, we need to come away with 7, right? We need to be going for it on 4th downs. We don't need to be kicking field goals early. We need to, take every bounce that we can and make it a lucky bounce. When we kind of flip this and look at Georgia's offense versus Florida's defense, we can see Florida's defense, as much, crap as Grantham gets, it's still an above average defense. Georgia's offense is pretty similar to Florida's in terms of overall performance. It's a good offense. Guys that jump out to me are Brock Bowers, the tight end. He's been their most productive receiver, and I think he's a potential game breaker here. They love their wide receivers. They love throwing to their wide receivers. Stetson Bennett's got a lot of rushing EPA. He'll beat you with his legs, like we said. Same with White and Cook. They'll catch passes. Florida's defense, what are we at? We're at 0.8 turnovers a game. Most teams are at 1.4. We're overdue for some turnover luck. We really need it. Georgia's offense is not that explosive, and I think this can actually work against them and potentially keep Florida in this game. They'll throw it deep, but they're fine just grinding it out in the run game. If that's how they want to try and win, I think it keeps the game lower scoring and gives Florida a better chance. I don't think we're going to be able to put up 35 on Georgia's defense. So if we can keep this, a 3-score game on either side, I think we're in it. Their offensive line is good. It's not insane. They've been okay at preventing tackles for loss on rushing plays, been really good at preventing sacks. One thing I did look at is their quarterbacks actually haven't been that good when pressured. They haven't been pressured a lot. And when they are pressured, they haven't done well. If the Gators can get them in situations where we can generate pressure, where we know it's a passing situation, I think we might be okay. So I think some of my keys are I want to see us make Stetson Bennett beat us and win this game by throwing to their wide receivers. Their wide receivers are fine. They're not crazy.
Very young too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Young receiver core. A lot of freshmen and sophomores out there.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those places where you look at the matchup and you say, our cornerbacks on their receivers, I like that. And if we can find a way to make that one-on-one matchup be what determines the game, that's fine. And if Kyrie Elam, Avery Helm, one of those guys get burnt and that's how we lose the game, it's like, okay, that was how you wanted the strategy to go. Mm-hmm. It's a tall order, but I think it's our best shot.
Going to be a tough one, but Bud, these charts were incredible. We'll have one more segment here and we'll close out the show. Bud, thank you for taking us through all those charts, all that analysis you do. That's a lot of hard work, man. So overall, where are we standing? Give us a little key, let's sum it all up for everybody. Put it in one nice little package here and give it final thoughts on the game. So offensively for the Gators, you want to see what?
Man, I just want to see us actually take some deep shots. I want to see our offensive line give us the chance to be in this game, right? We've got to try and run the ball. I don't think that's how we win. If we can do it, great. But I really want to see Emory Jones, Anthony Richardson completing these passes that are 10 yards down the field to receivers. I think it's a tall order for Mullen, but if we can do that, I think it's going to be a lot closer game. I think Florida covers. I've given us a 1 in 4 chance to win this one, but yeah, it's been fun to nerd out. Thanks for letting me share all these.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Florida, basically, you want to see it take some shots downfield, running game, more of maintenance. Just keep the run to keep them honest type of thing. Real quick, yeah. I defensively though, give us a couple of your summary points there on defense and what you want to see out of the Gators.
It's the opposite of what I want to see our offense do. I want to see our defense play back to front, right? Take away those deep shots that Georgia likes to throw. And, keep it in front of you, make Georgia have methodical drives, make their offense shorten the game and don't let them just have 2 or 3 play drives, which killed us against LSU. Mm-hmm. If we can keep it a close, low scoring game, weird things happen. And I think we can be in it.
Hey, Bud's got the Gators covered and he said so himself. Hey, you're more optimistic than I am this weekend. I like that. I'm going to be rooting for it. I'll tell you what, but I'm just down on this defense right now. But some of those charts, yeah, you helped make some sense of things for me tonight. So I appreciate that. And I hope everybody at home appreciates that. But hopefully we can connect again on some other charts down the road and some other analysis. But awesome work for on your article for Read and Reaction today. And, hope to see a little more, man.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me.
All right. Have a good one.
Take care.